Hi, I'm Kevin and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about different types of rope and which type of rope is going to be best for hanging food in bear country. So what type of rope is best in bear country? Well, you're going to want to consider a number of factors such as length, strength, durability, the weight of the rope, the stretch of the rope, the ease of use, and of course price. So let's talk about length first because that's probably the easiest one to get out of the way, as most rope can be practically any length. 50 feet is what I have found works really well. 50 feet is generally more than enough in most situations, and conveniently rope is often sold in 50-foot lengths. Next was strength, and a lot of people give strength an awful lot of consideration when they're thinking about a rope for bear hang situations. But I don't really think it's that important. Most modern ropes are going to be able to lift an awful lot. And you got to remember, your food bag in most situations is not going to be more than 10 or 20 pounds. Even if you're on a canoe trip and you've got a big food barrel to hoist, again, most modern ropes are going to be able to handle that weight. So if you're lifting a very heavy load with a modern rope, you're probably going to give up pulling before the rope breaks. With a very heavy load, there's going to be a lot of tension on that rope, and you're going to have a hard time pulling with your hands. Your hands are going to hurt from the tension. Also, there's going to be a lot of friction on the branch that the rope is thrown over. With the heavy load, often you can lift the load, but you can't overcome the friction on the branch. And I think that's an interesting topic. I might cover that in another video sometime. Here's a little hint in terms of how to overcome that, but there's more to it than that. Durability is another one of those factors that a lot of people think about when they're selecting a rope. But you know what? I've had ropes that I've used for 20 years, and I've yet to retire a rope. As long as you take care of them and keep them clean, most modern ropes are going to last a very long time. Now, the weight of different types of rope may or may not matter to you. Most ropes of the same length and similar diameter are going to weigh about the same, but you can get some variance. And if you're a backpacker and you're a gram counter, that's going to matter to you. Most ropes, though, will only vary, in a 50-foot length, they'll vary by less than 100 grams. So again, that may or may not matter to you. Now, what might matter to you is how much water your rope soaks up if it gets wet. You're going to be using this in an outdoor situation where it could rain, your rope could get wet. Some types of rope will retain that moisture and become heavier, and some types of rope are hydrophobic, meaning they do not retain moisture. The water will bead off, and your rope will remain relatively light. Now, all ropes, when you apply tension to them, are going to stretch to some degree. But in a bear hang situation where you're hoisting a food bag, you want a rope that has minimal stretch. In climbing terms, you want a static line versus a dynamic line. A static line is going to have minimal stretch, and climbers would use a static line if you're ascending on that rope or rappelling, because you don't want a lot of stretch. If you're climbing and that's your safety line, you do want a lot of stretch, because if you fall, it's going to act as a bit of a bungee cord. Now, a stretchy rope is probably not a deal breaker, but if you're lifting a heavier load with a stretchy rope, you're going to be pulling on that rope an awful lot to just pull the stretch out of the rope before you actually lift your load. So it's going to be a lot more work for you lifting a heavy load. So the last factor, and the one I think is most important, is ease of use. Does that rope tie well? Does it throw well? Does it get tangled? Does it snag on branches? I think this is really critically important and the most important factor. You got to remember that throwing a rope over a branch in the wilderness can lead to a comedy of errors. You're going to miss your target often. That rope is going to get caught in branches and get snagged up. More than once I've had to pull really hard on a rope just to break a bunch of branches to get the rope down, just so I could throw it again and get it tangled again. And I've learned that different types of ropes are more trouble-free than others. So let's talk about the different types of rope that are out there, the different materials, and how good they are in a bear hang situation. So this is Paracord. A lot of people are going to recommend Paracord because it's very strong and relatively inexpensive for the strength it provides. And it certainly is strong. It's plenty strong enough to do the job. It's also fairly static. It doesn't stretch much, which is good for this type of application. But I have found that Paracord is a little heavier than other types of ropes, if that matters to you. As an example, this 50-foot length of Paracord weighs 103 grams, and I've found that that's about 25 to 30% heavier than ropes of similar size and length. Now, paracord is generally made of polyester or nylon. This one is made of polyester. And those two fibers are going to retain some moisture if they get wet and make your rope heavier. Polyester and nylon also tend to grab on branches, and I've had a lot of problems with paracord getting tangled in branches before and sticking to the branches. But I did some testing and found that other fibers actually grab an awful lot more. So this is nylon rope, and it provides another option for you. Nylon rope is known for being very, very strong. It's also UV resistant and abrasion resistant, and it's fairly light. This package of 1/8 inch 50-foot length of rope only weighs 68 grams. So you'd think it'd be ideal in a bear hang situation, but it's not, and it's not because it's quite elastic actually. Now, because of that stretch, nylon rope like this thicker diameter rope is often designed and used in mooring situations for boats because the boat's going to try and pull away from the dock if there's waves or wind, and the stretch will help absorb some of that force. So you're going to find different types of polypropylene out there. This is the simplest and cheapest form. This is what I call yellow rope. This is the rope that comes with extension ladders when you buy them. The rope is very, very strong and very, very cheap, and that's why they use it on extension ladders. But this is terrible rope to work with. It is slippery and will slide over a branch, but it's just terrible stuff to work with and tie knots with. But you're going to find polypropylene in other forms, like this braided variety here. It's got a more complex braid than the simple yellow rope. This braid is much easier to work with. It holds knots much, much better. But the braid, even though it's the same material, this braid will catch on branches and bark. So it's not ideal for a bear hang. Now this is accessory cord, and I really like accessory cord for lots of camping applications because it's easy to work with. It ties well and it holds knots very well. Accessory cord is generally made of nylon, but it's woven in a way that it's quite static. It doesn't stretch very much. Now, a downside of accessory cord is that it's relatively heavy compared to other types of rope. A 50-foot length of 3mm cord is going to weigh 134 grams, and that's pretty heavy. And although accessory cord is relatively soft and tends to resist tangling, the material and the braid will get caught on branches and bark and can cause you issues. So just what is the very, very best rope that you could possibly use in a bear hang situation? Well, this is it. This is known as Dyneema. This is made of ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, also known as UHMWPE. This is also sold under the brand name of Zingit. Now, unfortunately, you're not going to find this in your local hardware store. You're going to have to get this online or source it from a specialty rope supply store. But Dyneema is excellent for this. It's very, very strong. It's UV resistant and rot resistant, and it's very, very light. For the gram counters out there, this 50-foot length of Dyneema, 2mm thick, only weighs 46 grams, and you can get away with that 2mm thickness because it is so strong. Dyneema is hydrophobic, so it doesn't absorb water. It won't pick up weight and add weight to your pack, and it floats. Dyneema is also very, very static and does not stretch much at all. And most importantly, Dyneema handles very, very well in bear hang situations. The rope is coated with urethane material, which makes it quite slick, and it won't get tangled in branches or stick to bark. It's quite smooth. It'll pull easily over a branch. The rope is fairly soft and throws well and ties well. And this is the rope that arborists choose to use for their throw rope. When arborists want to get up in a tree, they're going to bring a small light rope. They'll tie it to a weight. They'll throw that weight over a branch, and they'll hoist up their other heavier ropes with this rope. So if arborists choose Dyneema to help them get up into trees, this is certainly going to be the best rope for you to use in a bear hang situation. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, please hit like, share, and subscribe. As always, I hope you have a great day.